Search AutoTrader.
This is the new 7th generation BMW 7 Series. It is the pinnacle and the flagship of the BMW range. This is the one that the engineers put all their latest tech and developments into, while the rest of us wait for it to trickle down into the lower models. Still available with both a petrol and a diesel engine, but the one we have here is a little different. This is the BMW i7, a full electric 7 Series. And let me tell you something, it's a lot of car. I'm actually rather sad that you're only seeing this in a two-dimensional space, because as with most of BMW's current designs, they look a lot better in the metal in person than what they do in pictures and on video. This one may appear ugly, but it grows on you. It really does. It is really, really long. It's really, really wide. It's a big vehicle, this. Now, style is a subjective matter, and not everybody's going to like this. Some are going to love it, though. What you can't deny is that there's some amazing details in this vehicle. These top lights here are the daytime running lights and indicator elements. These actually have Swarovski crystals in them, and they have this beautiful shimmering light effect. Stunning. There's this element around the massively large kidney grille up front. And then, of course, being an i7, it has the blue detailing around the badge in this lower apron here. And, of course, the I badge up front. This is, of course, purely academic because there's no engine under here. It's just electric motors. Doesn't really need a grille to cool it down. It is very squared off, very slab-sided. It's exceptionally long. And that's because the 7 Series is only available in a long wheelbase format now. You're not going to get it in regular flavor. Around the back, things are very simplified, but it still reminds you of a 7 Series. Some of those older 7 Series from the 80s and 90s. But I think where this car really excels is in the tech department. This interior is something else. Yes, I'm loving the automatic doors. They give you buttons where you can open and close them automatically, or alternatively, you can do it the old-fashioned way. Let's start out with this massive curved display here, which is the direction that BMW is headed in. You've got a 12.3-inch driver information display here, and being an electric vehicle, it's going to give you all the necessary information that you want. Remaining charge, and of course remaining range, as well as your consumption figures. Then this is a 14.9-inch control display, and this is pretty much where you're going to do just about everything that you need to do. BMW have largely simplified the interior, but they've retained a couple of switches that you're going to interact with on a regular basis. So things like, well, volume control, track skipping, your modes, parking cameras, those are still areas where you can press, things that have got buttons. But they really have simplified it, and the whole control display in here, well, we'll see you open up the glove box. And it's going to do your rear demister and, of course, your front demister, as well as your fan speeds on either side. They've changed up the air vent controls, and it's these thin little slats in here. You can hardly even see the air vents. A fantastic use of materials, and well, this upholstery looks like it may be a little bit dated, but this is merino leather and cashmere wool. So if it does look like an 80s lounge suite, trust me, it doesn't feel that way. The diamond effect that they've given to the center here, which is backlit with a variety of colors that you can of course choose, adds a beautiful ambiance to the cabin. It really feels opulent and is exceptionally comfortable. Steering wheel only has these 2 spars on it, and your basic driving controls for your adaptive cruise control or assisted drive, and then of course your audio controls and your display. The thing is, this isn't the area where you really get the full benefit of a BMW 7 Series. It's in the back. So let's hop in there. I love that. Oh, and you've got to love a long wheelbase. There is just so much space here. But this really is. This is now what it's about. This is what it's geared for. The center armrest here, so we can still take 5 adults as a whole. But let's keep this armrest down. Fold out our cup holders. USB ports, more than enough, all over the place. BMW has made the rear seats larger, more comfortable. And there are so many different ways of adjusting them to get the comfort levels that you want. Of course, we have blinds here for your privacy, as well as at the back. This really is limo class. Let's open those up again, get a bit of light in here. The seats have cooling and heating as well as massage function for all 4 passengers and the driver, of course, which is absolutely fantastic. There's ambient lighting in the back here, your own individual climate control, and that's all controlled through these touch pads on the right-hand side here. These are actual screens. And speaking of screens, well, it does feature a massive theatre screen that'll fold down and keep you entertained. It'll also close up the blind there so that it doesn't distract traffic behind you. Set up one of the modes, the theatre mode, and, well, it will change the ambience. It'll adjust the seat into a reclining position. Prime the amazing sound system. This is proper home theatre vibes. It has a Bowers & Wilkins audio system in here. I've lost count of the number of speakers, but it includes 4D sound. 4D sound will, well, essentially make you feel the music. It has exciters or tactile transducers mounted in the seats so that you can feel the vibrations and all the audio. It gives you a truly immersive experience. Of course, there's this beautiful panoramic sunroof as well, and it's got elements in it that are lit up, and these change with the theme that you choose and the ambient lighting. It really is phenomenal. It is extremely spacious. It is extremely comfortable. This is just a place that you could spend so much time in. You will not tire of driving around in the back of a BMW 7 Series. Problem is, I was seated on the wrong side there. You actually want to be on the passenger side, because here you can set the seat up for the whole lounge effect. And this truly is fantastic. This is business class on tarmac. I don't know that I'd ever tire of this. Despite all the tech and comfort that you're going to get if you're sitting in the back, you don't need to worry about sitting in the front either, because BMW hasn't forgotten to inject it with, well, its BMW-ness. It's still a great drive. It is a 7 Series and drives like a 7 Series. It is, of course, fully electric. It makes 400 kilowatts, 745 Newton meters of torque, and this is thanks to 2 electric motors, one on the front axle and one on the rear axle, driving all 4 wheels. But they have made it rear-wheel biased, so it feels like a BMW. It's great, it really is. That is a lot of power, but it's still got a considerable range. BMW claims that you can get as much as 625 kilometers range from it, but realistically, you're probably going to be looking at about 550 instead. It has one of the largest batteries that you're going to find in an EV on sale in South Africa today, 101.7 kilowatts. This does mean that it's going to take a little while to charge, but it is equipped with 200 kilowatt DC charging. We don't have the chargers for that just yet, but in time we will. And that means that you can go from 10 to 80% in about 28 minutes. It is wonderfully silent, but if you listen carefully, you'll hear a little bit of a sound in the background. Well, that's thanks to Hans Zimmer, the musical score composer. He composed the BMW iconic sounds for the i7. It has air suspension. It has a set on the front axle and on the rear axle, and this does an admirable job of ironing out all the bumps in the road. Secondary ride is really great considering it rolls on 21-inch alloy wheels. It does have a little bit of a niggle though, and it tries to compensate for the ebb and flow of highways. It doesn't quite get that right, which means that it rides a little bit like a boat. It's not quite as smooth as you'd want it to be. It's not to the point where it would be nauseating, but once it's there, you notice it, and it's kind of hard to ignore then. This is, well, on this side of a Rolls-Royce, which it kind of actually is pretty much the last word in luxury. It really plays right up there, and this is targeting those affluent consumers who are looking to be driven around, those that want to make a statement. And for them, it has a price tag. 2.825 million rand for this version. If you want the M Sport, it's a little more dear, but I can kind of justify it, oddly enough.
Search AutoTrader.